throughout the entire week. Now, this is following alarming data published by the Institute of Race Relations indicating the bleak progress made by young people, especially in the socio-economic sphere. So, such data raises several questions. One, which we'll be tackling this morning, is where are the real models of South African society? And to answer this, we're joined in studio by two successful business moguls, NRW Tradings and Logistics CEO Mahlohonolo Maja, as well as Burgh Group Holding CEO Quinton van der Burgh. Of course, we invite you as always to be part of our discussions this morning. Keep this conversation going as we send out the Youth SOS. Leave your comments on our Facebook as well as on our Twitter pages. Thank you so much to the both of you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahlohonolo, perhaps to start off with you. I mean, individuals and many of us don't necessarily understand that business can be achieved even if you start from scratch. And I want to mention this because this one research that we did. You've currently signed a contract, I'm not going to mention with which company, that is over 1 billion rand.
Yes.
So as you're sitting right now, you're worth over or your company's worth over 1 billion rand, and you started from nothing. Tell us about your story.
Yes, I started in 2009, and I'm of the view that you never really start with nothing. You've always got something to start off with. And when I started in business, I didn't have the logistics to actually do the distribution of the product that I'm supplying into the market.
Yeah.
But I had access to the product. So I collaborated and I partnered with companies that had the resources to. And really, I think I pride myself in good partnerships, companies that move with speed, because really that sets you apart in business.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, I mean, we're going to go into from business to life now, and how is it that we can become role models. But Quinton, a very interesting point about you is that you actually had ADHD in school. You had ADHD in school. You didn't like it. After matric, you went into business. You started your business, in fact, at 18. Is it possible, and I'm thinking of a young person who currently does not have any access, to start a business from nothing, to start a business without contacts, and actually to make a success out of it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, touching on that, it's a very difficult discussion when you're young, and how people take you serious when you're young as well.
Yeah.
So you have to put this false perception out of the market of who you are and what you are and what you're capable of, firstly, and you have to have that confidence to be able to enter that market space. When I was 18, I made many mistakes. I made mistakes all the way up to probably 23, 24 of my biggest mistakes, and that's not understanding what a business is made of, from specifically understanding cash flows. And everything in cash flows, you can have the best idea, you can have the best business. If you don't understand cash flows, you're dead in the water. And it comes to the point of where youth are going with their jobs, and people want to take gamble and chances, and people want to aspire to become something great. Is the difficult question, is because unless you've got that experience, and you at least have somebody who can give you that experience, or at least give some sort of entrepreneurial sort of support, you are going to fail a lot of times.
Yeah.
But you've got to keep looking at the positive aspects of what are those failures about, and take them as lessons.
Yeah.
I've taken every single lesson or every single failure as a lesson in my life. And I'm still taking those lessons today. Come 20 years in my business, I learn something every single day.
Yeah.
But from a starting point, yes, it is capable, and you are able to, but you've got to be able to build up some resources for yourself. I don't believe in gambling with other people's money. It's very risky, and it definitely burns bridges. And once you've made too many failures with other people's money, you're going to be an employee for the rest of your life, because people won't
don't
trust
invest
you.
in business plans. People invest in people. And I want us to touch the issue now of role models, because Quinton, for those of us that don't necessarily know, I mean, Forbes, and I'm sure that you'll be able to say that, no, I don't like speaking about money, but Forbes was actually saying that you're worth over $1 billion, not rands. You're on the dollars side of things, and you don't specifically like speaking about money. So I'm going to ask the both of you. You're sitting here on the couch at Sunrise as billionaires. We've got problems with role models in this country. We've got young people which feel despondent. Where are you? Are you accessible to the very same market and the very same people that are going to be leading South Africa tomorrow, starting today, Hloni?
Absolutely. My contact numbers, for instance, are on the website. As much as I strive to be independent of the brand so that the business becomes sustainable, with or without me, I'm available, I'm accessible. I'm a telephone call away. Yes.
And how do you start becoming more accessible, and how do you start becoming role models in society? Because not everybody will say money is everything. However, one associates themselves with somebody that is successful. Nobody associates themselves with a failure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, it comes back to, we look at role models in today's society, and a lot of people look at the international guys. We call it Richard Branson's, for instance. And we read his book, and we go through specific criteria of how we can change or how mold ourselves into something great. And I've never done that. I've never looked at anybody else's books or anything like that. You mold your own destiny. You make your own path and you make your own success.
Yeah.
You can look at things as role models and you can look at things as aspirations, but you're definitely always going to mold your own path, right? And, you know, I think that's from a starting point from entrepreneurs, we all have to take a page out of those books as an example, and definitely aspire for your own path and destiny to where you're going to become or what you're going to become. Like for myself, I started a fund last year where I gave 100 million rand out to young entrepreneurial businesses, and we asked those companies to submit their proposals and exactly what they wanted to do. And it's a very difficult aspect of a startup. You know, startups are probably the most complex version to business, in my opinion. It takes you 4 to 5 years before you get anywhere. It's you put a lot of energy into those things. I myself have burnt my bridges with that kind of look at the market, because you know your attention to detail, unless you're 100% entrenched as an entrepreneur, you find people who aspire or want to become entrepreneurs, but they don't quite understand what it takes.
Is that where young people are failing, and that's where young people are missing the mark here, where we want it now? So in other words, I invest a certain amount, but I want my instant gratification, and I want it now. And is this where we're going wrong as society, as young people? I'm going to go to Fred, I'm going to go to you, Quinton.
Okay.
Yeah, and not embracing the process. And speaking of role models, I find it's important to look up to personalities that resonate with you and emulate the kind of characters that resonate with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very important, honestly, to say there's role models out there, but find various personalities, because you not find everything in one. Yeah, but look out for characteristics that emulate with you, that resonate with you, and embrace that, and embrace the process, most importantly, because it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Now, are we going wrong with young people? I mean, we just looked at the clips, and we saw it throughout the news this morning of looting in stores, where when one focus is about quality education for young people, but then we find a lot of young people that are looting in stores, etc. So are we going wrong? And if we're going wrong, how do we diagnose that wrong?
So I come back to the same question. You know, I laugh when I say this, but I think our youth is living in the MTV era. You know, we always want something for nothing, and we want it now. We feel self-entitled. You know, we look at everybody else around us, and I think they miss the buck when it comes to the old school principle of dedication and loyalty and trust. And when it comes to building a reputation within the business sector, you know, for instance, my father taught me the handshake, you know, so my handshake is as good as gold. You know, I'm never going to go back, and if I lose money based on that, then so be it. But I'm always going to have the discipline, and my word out there, and my repertoire out there is very good from that discipline. It comes back to how these youngsters are looking at the market and saying, you know what, I want it now. I want the cars, I want the houses, I want, you know, to be able to spend the money, and I want to live.
I want to be able to post on Instagram and say hashtag I've arrived.
And it's living like the Joneses again, like MTV or the Joneses, however you want to equate it. Like we want to drive the BMW, we want to drive certain things, but what it takes to get there is a certain discipline. I went to London when I was 20. I went with nothing. I wasn't even allowed to be in that country. I didn't have a visa for that country, didn't have a bank account for that country, but yet I survived. You understand? I made it happen. And there's always a grey area in my aspect of life. Never say it's black or white. You know, there's grey for everything, from legals to accounts to everything. There's always a way to bend the rule and to bend the buck to get what you have to get out of life. Yeah. You just got to be able to know how to master that skill. And from that point, it comes back to money. If youngsters don't understand that, get a job, get educated, get understanding of where there's a gap in the market. That's what I always talk about. There's always a gap in the market.
Absolutely.
You find these big corporate companies that employ 2,000-3,000 people. They've missed 20-30% of those opportunities. You know, and if you're strategic and clever enough to go into those companies, get the knowledge, get the understanding of how they do it, and then take your own version of that book out, and then go make it happen for yourself.
And also be able to identify yourself and be authentic in that. Hloni, I want to touch about an interesting issue around women. You've got more and more young women who are aspiring to have the perfect weave, and therefore we find ourselves having to term and coin the terms blessers, which, by the way, Lupita Nyong'o is now taken to Hollywood. Are we going wrong with being able to be role models for our young women, and especially our young black women? And how then do we start bringing back home?
You know, funny enough, speaking of the blessers and the weaves, just last night when you invited me for this interview, I thought to myself, must I put a wig on, or must I just go as I am? And I figured, you know what?
So you came natural.
Yes, and I'm like, you know what? This is me. Let me just rock up as I am. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I think there's just that misconception and misperceptions in the industry for people to be something they're not. So Hence, I said earlier on, it's important to embrace the process, embrace who you are. That gift comes from you, you know. You've got to find that internal talent in you and appreciate yourself just as you are. And the world must receive you just as you are and celebrate you as you are.
As as society, as young people are searching for role models, Quinton, as individuals are looking for people to identify themselves with, how should they be pursuing that individual to identify with and say, you know what, I want to be like them someday? How do they start?
It comes back to the schooling system, which I believe is very flawed. You know, from I had ADHD, which was never identified in school. You know, and a lot of people are autistic and they have different versions to how they're going to become artists, TV presenters, or you name your different careers out there, from doctors to lawyers to entrepreneurs to business people. And I think the school system doesn't identify that from an early stage. And I think youngsters today, they obviously look at it and say, look, my parents are forcing me into a doctor or a doctor's role or a legal perspective, and I'm going to go study for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. We're finding a lot of those people coming out of those degrees coming to me and saying, you know what, we want to go into the entrepreneurial space. We understand that, you know, accounting or being a CA or being a lawyer is not what we want, because again, they only think black or white. You know, you can never send a lawyer into negotiation, in my opinion, because they're going to ruin it. You know, you got to be able to understand and feel out people, and that's an entrepreneurial skill. It comes back to, if you're not a people's person, you don't understand how to read energies, you don't understand read people, you're going to have a problem in negotiations. And negotiations is exactly where you place yourself within a specific transaction. Like, that's the trick. There's a trick of the trade, they call it, that, you know, if you're talking about a transaction and you've got something on the go at the moment and you need a contact or you need finances or you need something, you've got to be able to place yourself within that transaction, but not to be too bullish, but to be educated enough how to say, you know what, I know my place within this transaction and this is where I'm going to be going with it, and always hedge your positions with that.
Well, heading up positions there as well. I wish this conversation could actually continue forever, but of course, shedding some light in terms of the importance of being able to identify the right role model for you. You both have been really successful in your own right. I know that you're available on social media as well. People can find you if they want to even conversate with you further. So thank you so much for availing yourselves this morning. They're speaking to NRW Trading and Logistics CEO Mahlohonolo Maja, as well as Burgh Group Holding CEO Quinton van der Burgh. As you know, we're speaking about role models, sending that youth SOS. We're going to take a quick break. Do stay with us here on Sunrise. More to follow short after this.